Hello everybody and happy Wednesday, and thank you for joining me again on AMC for Round 3 of the Connecticut Regional. Those of you with keen ears might wonder why you're hearing the music for Hear Me Roar rather than the Jousting Contest introduction. You're hearing that music because there's something that I wanted to talk about before we get to today's match. Basically, I wanted to address a question that I've been getting a lot. So I figured rather than responding to 7 or 8 emails, I figured I'd just answer it to everybody all at once. And that question is, will I please open a Patreon account? I thought about this for a long time. Long story short, the answer is no. I am not going to do it. I get that people like the show and people want to contribute to the show, and believe me, that makes me so happy and so grateful. But right now, all I want to do is have fun with this channel and run it exactly the way that I want to run it. And if I open a Patreon and I start accepting money from people, I'm going to feel obligated to keep a certain release schedule. I'm going to feel obligated to always release things on a certain time. And I know my personality. As soon as I feel obligated to do something, I'm not going to want to do it anymore. The other thing is that really the money that a Patreon would provide wouldn't be adding any value to the channel. I already bought the cameras, I bought the microphones and the lights and the equipment, and all the equipment is paid for. I paid for it all. So an influx of cash isn't really going to change anything about the channel other than to be putting cash back in our pockets and out of your pockets for no reason other than putting our hand out. And that's not something we want to do to the community. We want to add to the community. We don't want to take away from the community. It would be one thing if it would be, let's say hypothetically next year, that I would be able to go to Extra Store Championships and get extra footage and extra content for you guys if I had a little bit of extra money. Maybe I would consider it at that point next year. But for now, extra money isn't going to be doing anything other than putting money in my pocket. And I don't want to do that. I would never ask you guys for money unless you would be getting something in return. And right now, you wouldn't be getting anything in return. So that's basically that. It makes me so happy that you guys are even interested in wanting to do that for me. It makes me feel so good. But I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I did that. If I took money from you without being able to provide you additional value for those contributions, I would feel like a shithead. Excuse my language. So I'm not going to do it. Again, maybe next year, and if a Patreon would mean that I can go get extra footage for you guys and maybe cover a couple of extra tournaments that normally I wouldn't be able to afford, that's a completely different story in my opinion. But for now, I don't really need any extra money to do what I'm doing. All the expenses have been put up and paid for already. So that's that. I appreciate your interest and I appreciate you asking, but all you guys have to do is watch. That is more than enough for me. We are currently sitting at unbelievable 438 subscribers after starting with, I believe, about 150 a little less than a month ago. So that is really all the support that I need from you guys. I appreciate it so much. I can't say thank you enough. It means the world to me. The other thing that I wanted to mention, tonight's question for the playmat. Here is the playmat. Regionals top 8 playmat. So today's question is, what should tonight's question be? How about, what do you think of Kraken? Is he ever going to be worth anything? Is he a completely useless character? Why is he in the books? Who is he? Is he Azor Ahai? What is going on with Kraken? Why does he matter? AMC Thrones, tell me what you think. So for now, sit back, enjoy round 3, and maybe we can address this issue again next year. Thank you so much for watching AMC. I love you guys very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. Hey everybody, and welcome back for round 3 of the Connecticut Regional. Today we have Chris Lavin playing TargLion on the right, and Joe Mirando playing LanniKraken on the left. Chris quickly becoming a mainstay at the AMC stream tables. Gotta find out what his secret is, always being at the top table.
Not good. Mine isn't, like, the best.
Okay.
Alright.
So I like Joe's start a little bit better here than Chris's, mainly because he has repeatable economy rather than Chris's burst economy. I always feel naked after I pop a King's Road.
Oh, yeah. His second burn man's stronger than mine, though. It's not fair.
I think it's fairly obvious everybody would agree that repeatable, reusable economy is better than a single bigger burst. Unless you're going for the win. You gotta play the long game.
I am ready when you
So
are.
am
Summons.
Me too.
Seems good.
And we see a double summons.
I'll you go first.
All right.
That is a very curious move. Generally, you see decks with very expensive characters like to open with Noble Cause or some other higher economy. So I am assuming both players did this because they're looking for something specific, maybe a Gregor,
Let me look at it.
or they just didn't have any characters in their hand. Both players opted to mulligan. I just happened to cut that out of
What do you
the...
think?
They both picked Tyrion. But yeah, as I was saying, both players mulligan in this game. I just cut it out of the stream so you guys didn't have to watch 5 minutes of shuffling. So who knows what their redraws were. They could be pretty abysmal. But I'm not surprised to see both guys take Tyrion, even in the face of other options, just because of that economy that he's going to provide. Being able to hit those events, the treacheries, the hear me roars, the put to the swords. It's just such a boon to have essentially 2 free gold, and most of the time 4 free gold in the challenges phase. And a duped Tyrion. Can't quite see what Joe's middle character is there.
Seems good.
We know he's got the burned men on the top, but I can't quite see what the middle card is. Chris with the Hound and the burned men. I expect him to play his Tyrion as well, just if for no other reason, to make sure that he doesn't fall behind in economy. The more that you play this game, the more you realize there is a natural ebb and flow to a match. And you sort of sometimes have to make a decision based on what your opponent is doing, even if it wasn't what you originally wanted to do.
There she is. This is America.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Chris with the curveball dropping Daenerys
My
immediately.
challenge?
Yes.
That makes me think that he probably top-decked Daenerys,
Neither do I.
even after he went and pulled Tyrion with the summons, and he sort of pivoted his plans.
Unopposed.
Okay, we're going
Hopefully
to...
Chris's Tyrion doesn't get pulled.
Here's your burn man.
Sure.
And one for unopposed. Plan.
Interesting, Joe opts to Tears the Burned Man rather than the Hound. I don't know why he did that.
Okay, then. Let's see.
Very curious decision.
I'm good here.
Also, in this spot, I probably would have opted to do the military challenge first, knowing that I had the Tears in hand. Reason being that if Joe opts to do a military challenge now, Chris would easily just kill the Burn Man because it already has a Tears token on him. But if he were able to get a military challenge through first, I don't think Chris would have defended because the Burn Man is relatively useless, and he would have killed the Burn Man for claim, and then Joe could have used the Tears on the Hound, and he would have gotten rid of 2 characters instead of 1, and then Danny gets marched next turn. Assuming, of course, Joe is running marched.
Opposed?
I'm going to choose to discard at random.
Sure.
Bit of a curious decision by Joe. I'd be curious to hear what he has to say. Joe, if you're watching, leave a comment. Let us know what you were thinking. Maybe there's something obvious that I'm missing here.
It's optional, right?
Intrigue. Yep.
Also, interestingly, I was talking to Chris today about this match, and he said there was one massive mistake that Chris makes during this match. So let's play together and see if we can spot it. Chris has got to be happy to pull that Hand's Judgment out. He's playing a deck that is going to be heavily reliant on events.
Yep. End of the phase.
Things like Dracarys.
Cool. I get done.
I have to discard, I believe, 1 for reserve.
And he's sort of waking the dragon and Fire and Blood. Targ is very, very event heavy. So getting a cancel out of Joe's hand, always a good thing. The glare really giving us a hard time on Joe's side. I apologize for that. I'm still working on trying to resolve that. Somebody had told me that working with a lower camera angle would make that a little bit better, so that's what I did here. It appears that did not work, so next time when I go to Dance with Dragons on the 30th, I will try a steeper camera angle and see if that works better. But we will solve it eventually, guys. I apologize. Thanks for sticking with me.
March. Figured. Okay.
Building orders.
Okay,
So,
that
we do
is
see Joe has
a
the
10 on our
marched.
location, correct?
Maybe him tearsing the Burnmen was the
Alrighty,
mistake
I'm
they were
gonna
talking about.
choose to go first. Resolve yours first.
Because if that was the case, Danny would have just been marched, the Hound would have tearsed, and Danny would have been gone. I don't get it. Chris probably looking for Shadow Black Lane here. Again, an event-heavy deck. That's what I imagine he's digging for with building orders.
Not a crown.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
That's exactly what happens. Players pointing out that Chris also could have dug for a crown as well.
Which burn men are you marching?
This one. He's closest to the pile anyway.
Fair enough.
Not the damn.
Crown of Gold
shocking.
is just really an awesome point-and-click removal card. Sure, it's 4 gold, but
Drop. Yep.
if you can get rid of a card at will for $4, I'm going to do that all day long.
Okay, 5 gold.
Poor little lonely Daenerys. I hope Chris has some company for her. Otherwise, this is going to be a long day for him. Joe drops a reducer. Looks like we can sneak peek a treachery in Joe's hand. That might come in handy for him as he extends his lead on the board here. If Chris drops a King's Road, I think Joe would be wise to save a gold to cancel that King's Road.
I mean, Marshall Round.
Yep.
And he does save a gold, so that's got to worry Chris a little bit here. If he has a King's Road, it makes it slightly scarier to drop it, because it could be wasted. He gets a Dragon Hatchling out.
That's the one.
That's good. He saves a gold. That allows him to threaten the Dracarys. So Joe has to worry about that when attacking. Joe's got to be concerned he might lose his Tyrion. He's got to be very careful who he opts to attack with.
I'll sit there.
Cards in hand, please.
Yep.
It looks like we can peek another Hand's Judgment in Joe's hand there, so maybe he doesn't care.
Intrigue, stealth.
And in a way,
Unopposed.
he probably hopes that Chris uses it, because then he can waste one of those cards and get it canceled. Fistful of cards for Chris, and
He's good. That's a
he
dude.
takes Drogo for claim. Ouch. Chris was probably relying on that to get back into this match with some double military, and that option just went out the window. So sorry, Chris. Not looking good for you, buddy.
Military.
Unless Chris has a trick, he's gonna use a dupe on Daenerys for this claim.
Okay, mind if I take a second?
Take your time.
Looks like some economy that we can see in Joe's hand as well. I think he should put this card back to his hand. As long as it's not going to affect reserve, he should let the Hound bounce. You don't want to risk losing your Treachery or your Hand's Judgment versus Targ. You can't afford it. He should play it safe. He's got board position. There's no reason he should not take the Hound back to his hand, in my opinion.
He will come back to my hand.
Sure.
Attaboy, Joe. He makes the right decision. And as we predicted, Chris successfully takes the dupe for claim.
You're up.
Okay then.
Joe's playing a really good game. He's playing strong, he's playing confident, he's playing safe. He's not taking any risks, which is the right move. When you're in control in Thrones, sometimes you want to take your foot off the pedal to make sure things don't spin out of control. A single mistake like overcommitting on a challenge or missing a trigger could really cost you the match.
Hound.
Yep.
Unopposed.
Here's the Hound. You got it?
Okay, very interesting exchange there.
Reaction to winning. Stand.
So what happened was, Chris attacked with Daenerys for an intrigue challenge.
Unopposed.
Joe had 4 gold. He opted to use the 4 gold to ambush the Hound back in
Try.
so that the Hound would not be pulled from intrigue claim. That is a very reasonable thing to do. Unfortunately for him, Chris happened to have a Tears, which he used to kill Joe's Hound. However, Joe has not removed the Hound. from the table. Oh, because it was Hand's Judgment. Okay, so that was the final part of that combo. So Chris attempted to Tears on the Hound, and Joe canceled. So Joe extends his lead even further. Not looking good for Chris here.
Yep.
Snow.
Cost.
Ouch.
I will go first.
Sure.
I love this play from Joe. Even though a lot of his cards are going to come back to his hand as well. Notice he's got the Burnman that has Ambush, the Hound that has Ambush. So he's going to be able to replay his cards after first snow goes off. And this is going to prevent Chris from playing anything that really matters. So it didn't really matter what plot Chris flipped into first snow. Right now, even with Noble Cause, Chris has 7 resources. That's going to allow him to play one card that is not going to get pulled by first snow, because he's going to play one 4-coster or 5-coster. He's not going to have enough to play anything else that won't get bounced. So Joe knows right off the bat, worst case scenario, he is facing Danny and one character. That is a superior play. Well done. I love first snow in this meta, and I love first snow from Joe in this spot. Chris is dying a little inside. It's very, very hard not to mentally break in a spot like this that Chris is in. Now, this will be a much different situation in 6 months when Valor comes out, because Valor obviously is a much bigger reset than Wildfire is, and it gives you the potential to maybe make a bigger comeback. But in the state of 2nd edition right now, when the best you can hope for on a reset is to even the board 3 characters apiece, when you're this far behind, that's tough.
Top 10 in faction event.
It's easy to get that hopeless feeling.
Now, theoretically, that all happens during the phase, so you could play it if it was an on-win trigger, something like that. Okay. Awesome. Moving along to challenges.
So, expect...
No gold, right?
No gold.
Joe's got a pile of gold left. He's going to get even more gold when he initiates his Intrigue Challenge. He's going to use that. He has 4 now. He's going to get 2 more. That's going to allow him to ambush back in the Burned Men and the Hound. So he will get 3 challenges off here. And somebody is going to die. I am so sorry for those Unsullied. Joe's just in complete control right now. He's taking his time to make sure he doesn't make a mistake and do things out of order, which he should. It doesn't look like Chris has any gold left, so he shouldn't really be worried about much of anything other than a Dracarys. No, Dracarys he doesn't even have the money for, so I'm not sure what Joe's hesitation is other than just double-checking things.
Unopposed?
Yep.
I'm going to
that's
also...
Sorry.
Tears?
Sure.
Oh, no. Actually, that doesn't make that big of a difference, because when Joe eventually wins the military challenge, that is the card that Chris will kill anyways. So I'm not sure what Joe was hoping to accomplish there.
Sure does.
I think he wasted the Tears, since that character would have died anyways, to the Hound's military challenge. Or if he wanted to make sure he could win, that Chris didn't have any tricks, he could ambush both the Burned Men and the Hound in. But now he can't do that because he just wasted a gold on Tears, now that I realize. He only has 5 gold left, and he would need 6 gold to ambush in both those characters. 4 for the Hound and 2 for the Burned Men. That is no longer an option. So that's the first mistake from Joe in this game that I can see. I still think he's in complete control, but a little bit of a misstep. I should point out a little bit of a spoiler, but I think everybody already knows Joe actually won this tournament. That being said, I don't know if he won this game or not. I did not watch this ahead of time. I did not look at the results. So we don't know that Joe wins this in Swiss. So Chris could still somehow make a comeback. But you are watching the tournament-winning deck in action right now on the left. Very, very surprising here for me to see Joe passed challenges and played defensively. In this spot, I think he should have ambushed in the Hound and attacked. Instead, he opts to play super conservatively. I don't like that. If he had ambushed in the Hound and attacked, unless I'm missing the math somehow, he could have had Chris back down to a solo Daenerys again. And instead, Chris is a little bit back down into it.
Yes. Sure, you got it.
So Shadow Black gets canceled by the treachery. Probably a pretty good play by Joe rather than saving it. Once Targ gets its event package going and can start recycling dead characters, it's tough to deal with.
That's it for me. Guys, at the end of the phase. Okay.
I didn't notice if they
I should have
resolved the Hound there.
You go left.
Clearly the Hound is still in play, but I don't see Joe having lost a card.
I'll discard for reserve.
Sure. I am very good on reserve.
Yep.
How many cards do you have, please?
6.
It's unfortunate.
Joe's still wishing he had his marched, I'm sure. Okay, Chris needs to throw some economy. Whatever his highest gold plot is, he's got to throw it. Maybe calling the banners.
Dragon.
Yeah, that's a card.
Okay, so now we have a very interesting thing here. Joe drops a Calm. Chris drops Blood of the Dragon. He better have some tricks in his hand to take advantage of that Blood of the Dragon.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Let's see what Joe picks for claim here. If I'm him, I'm taking military claim. Power doesn't really matter yet, and unless the cards in his hand are stellar, it's much better to take military as the option.
Sure.
Drop.
And he does. Now, Blood of the Dragon is a very interesting plot in the sense that a lot of times what happens is it's going to paralyze your opponent, especially with Dany on the board. Because now, the second a character enters a challenge, he's going to, if he's 2 strength or less, he's going to die. Now, in addition to that, Joe obviously does not know what Chris has in his hand, so if he's smart, he has to play defensively. Chris should save a gold for a bluff here, even if he doesn't have a Dracarys, because now that he has Dany and a dragon on board, with that plot revealed, he is in super, super strong position for bluffing.
And you're up.
Alright, so Chris wisely saves a gold. We don't know if he has the Dracarys, but now he can fake it. And Joe probably has to play beyond ultra conservatively here, if only to keep his lead. Chris was able to play some characters, so he's able to come back into it a little bit. And Joe is not going to be able to extend his lead this turn because he has to play it safe. He can't afford to attack with Tyrion and lose him to a Dracarys.
Cards, please.
Yeah.
Or a Hound to the Dracarys for that matter, because everybody's -2 right now for Joe. So very risky to initiate any challenges here. If I was him, I would play it safe, wait for that plot to disappear, and then make a move next turn. It's like walking on the edge of a cliff when you're playing a Targ player with that plot revealed. Very dangerous. The burn men that are in Joe's hand is completely useless because he'll be dead if he defends, by virtue of Dany and the Blood of the Dragon.
Intrigue challenge.
Action.
Oh boy. So Joe drops the things I do for love.
Is that still good?
Up to you. I'll leave that
Honestly, it's really important to the game. I'd rather just stick with how it was.
Okay. Oh, so this reminds me. Chris mentioned this play to
I
me
might have another action.
Sure.
the day of the tournament. What happened here was Joe drops the things I do for love, which returned the character on the board back to Chris's hand. Chris forgot that he had a hand judgment in his hand until after he physically put the card back in his hand, at which point he attempted to cancel the event, and Joe did not allow him to do that, which was well within Joe's rights. Chris wanted to be sure that he made clear to everybody watching that he was perfectly okay with this, but he still wanted to at least try. You never know when your opponent's going to give you a take back. But he agrees that Joe was within his rights to deny him that take back. And unfortunately for Chris now, this game is all but over. Unless he has some sort of trick, there's not much that he can do.
Okay,
Joe completely safe from the Dracarys now, even though Chris has a gold. Danny is knelt and the dragon is gone. So no fuel for the Dracarys. He's got to have that warm, fuzzy feeling, completely safe. And he gets Drogo number 2. Oh no. If this game wasn't already over, it certainly is now.
military?
Has to be on a post.
Danny gone. I gotta believe we're just going through the motions here.
Dominance?
Yep. So it's yours. I will pitch a card.
Interestingly to me,
Sure.
there's zero reaction from Chris here. None. We don't hear a sigh. We don't hear a grunt. We don't hear a motion of frustration. His body language hasn't changed.
Cards in hand.
2. Ready when you are.
So that is very interesting to me.
Trading.
That tells me that Chris has a plan here.
You don't have a...
He does have a fistful of cards, but I gotta believe he's so far behind. It doesn't matter what's in his hand, but his body language is not saying that.
Yep.
I'm gonna drop.
Yep.
I get 3 gold from that now, right?
Yep. It is now.
Okay, so that's my 3 from that. I'm gonna draw.
Yep.
Regular draw phase.
So Joe refills his hand with the counting coppers, so that is an excellent play. His hand was pretty much empty. I think he had 2 cards left. Now he's fully reloaded. So, but I'm dying to know what Chris is going to do here. I'm intrigued. I feel like if I was him, I probably would have scooped the second Daenerys was killed. The fact that he didn't, I can't wait to see what he's going to do.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
He almost looks excited, like he knows he's making a comeback.
So a few. 1 for King's Road.
Okay.
Comes in
So he has all the money on Earth, plus a King's Road.
10 gold up and 5 in hand.
6.
That's not bad.
Looks like Joe deciding whether or not he wants the treachery. He does not.
And yet, also Shadow Black. No wonder Shadow Black wasn't getting you.
Okay, that's a good first step.
Merchant. Short.
Like, can't really help it.
Yep.
Like, read your fears.
Tyrion.
Yep. 2 gold up.
Okay, I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, that does help, but I don't know that Tyrion and Jaime is enough to get Chris out of this mess. I'm dying to see what the rest of his cards are. People, if you're listening and you are ever at a featured table, do me a favor, and if I forget to ask you to show your cards to the camera occasionally, do it anyways. I really want to see what Chris has in his hand right now.
He is 1. Yep.
I meant to ask people to show their cards to the camera occasionally after Kelly did it for me at the Labyrinth Store Championship, and it was so much fun.
Be on the post.
It adds a whole different level of analysis that I can see. But Chris's hand is a complete mystery to us right now.
It's rough beat, but, you know. I know.
Middle one.
Middle one is.
There he is.
Based on the fact that Joe only has 4 power counters left at the top left of his mat, I'm assuming he's at 11 power right now. Chris, still a cool customer, not showing any signs of frustration. Or defeat, for that matter.
Okay. On the post.
Okay, so I have some wind triggers.
Yep.
I'm going to put to the sword and the hound's trigger, I guess.
Okay.
I choose what order they go off?
I
Is
think
that
the
how that
forced
works?
reaction happens before
So the
other
force reaction
reactions.
happens first.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to choose to return into my hand for the force
Absolutely.
reaction.
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to put someone to the sword. That target is going to be Jaime.
Hand's judgment.
Hand's judgment.
Sure.
Oof, a double hand's judgment.
Then claim.
Yep.
Ouch.
And
Chris has got to feel like he's just went 6 rounds with Tyson. Joe just has an answer for everything.
That's, yep, I missed that.
Yep.
Okay.
And
That's
we both
gotta
got
be
some
it.
of that, so it happens.
It is true.
Power challenge, stealth the fishmonger.
That will be unopposed.
I can't believe Chris hasn't scooped.
All right,
2 each, tie
two
down.
each, push for Dom.
Looks good.
There's just no quitting this guy. I like that. I don't even see what cards exist in the plot pool or the draw deck pool that Chris could be hoping to top deck to win here. 2 Drogos are gone. Daenerys is dead. I mean, he certainly could have a Dany in his hand and one of those Targ events that'll recycle Dany out of his dead pile. But my goodness, by the time he was able to do that, Joe would have the game over.
Alrighty.
We're talking beyond Hail Mary here for Chris. He's just looking for anything.
Sorry, there's an action.
It's only for the discard, right?
Yes, I was checking to see
Yeah, no problem.
who's dead.
Oh, man.
How does not feel
Okay.
in this game? Bad dog.
And who'd you say was going first? I'm sorry, I forgot. You're going first?
Yep.
Alright, I gotta think Chris is just gonna look at what he top decks here before deciding to scoop. Because if this game goes to challenges, Joe's gonna close, no doubt.
Coming through.
He only has 4 power to go. Joe does, and he's got a stealth on board.
Alrighty.
And
Draw.
So I don't know what the massive mistake Chris was warning me about on Facebook was. Maybe we saw it, maybe I mentioned it, maybe I didn't. Maybe it was that time they didn't resolve Joe's Hound forced reaction, but I didn't see any huge mistake here that would have affected the game one way or the other.
7 gold. Yep.
I mean, Joe is in control wire to wire in this game, in my opinion. Nothing really Chris could do to get
5,
anything
6,
going
7.
without Joe having the answer for it immediately. And look at Tywin in your face.
Your challenge.
Now we see Chris's body language change.
past challenges.
Okay. Any actions for my first challenge?
Nope.
Chris is laying down here, passing his challenges. He's belly up, fully submitting. He's just letting Joe have it. He knows it's over.
Military stealth.
Unopposed.
Unopposed.
Well,
trigger.
if there's one thing I can say, this is the first time I have seen the LanniKraken deck in action, and I am extremely impressed, I have to say. Personality differences aside that I have with the Brotherhood Without Manners, you cannot argue with what they did at this tournament. It was a wonderful deck. They played it well, and that's really all that there is to say.
Yep, doesn't matter what order we do it in.
Good game.
I mean, not really. We both played.
Yeah, we
kinda
both played
sloppy.
terribly.
Yeah, that was not our best showing.
It was not. How has the Shadow Black package with the rebuilding been
Awesome.
for you? Really?
Last round, I rebuilding 2 Dracarys and a Tears twice. So it's been pretty good.
Have you worked out the math on like how often you reseed them again? Because I don't play a lot of Targ, but I was wondering if it's like viable like that, or if it's just like
I think more than anything else, like it'll be viable. I haven't worked out the math. My guess is it'll be viable 1 out of every 3 games or so. But the psychology
of course.
they
Now
have to play around it again is
it's
super
a giant.
nice.
I was super fortunate to draw all of my hands this game.
I didn't draw a
against-
single Dracarys.
Really?
Nope, not a one.
Yeah, I was super fortunate to draw all my
Wait,
hands.
that's
I
gonna
mean, there was
happen.
other stuff.